InceptionU is a short-term reskilling school focused on helping folks hone the skills they need to work in tech. It was co-founded by Margo Fenton-Purcell, who is also the CEO. And she's going to tell us why helping people learn how to learn is at least as important as passing along specific skills. Margo, welcome to ReSkilled.
Oh, you're most welcome. Thanks, Jeff.
And now I assume InceptionU isn't normally based out of your house.
No,
Whereabouts are you guys?
Not. So normally we're based out of the beautiful new Central Library right in downtown Calgary.
So Margo, I'd love it if you could tell us a little bit about what InceptionU is and what you guys do.
Well, InceptionU is a private nonprofit university. And what we do really is focus on helping people be future fit. The world is really uncertain and changes quite a bit. And in order to be able to adjust and adapt and be resilient through all of that, it's really important to understand how to learn because things are changing all of the time. Future fit is what are those competencies that are needed for us to be equipped to thrive in a completely changing future. And the future's here. It's not like this is something that's needed down the road. This is what's needed right now. This is what's being asked for by a lot of organizations saying we need people to be creative. We need them to be able to apply things, doing things with a mindset of design. If we design things well, they will actually solve the problems. Equipping people with critical thinking, systems thinking, creative thinking, computational thinking. How do you communicate? How do you collaborate? It's really, really important in our world to be able to communicate with a great diversity of people, to be able to understand them. That's how you figure out what problem they're trying to solve. And that way we can design solutions that work.
Those are some really big ideas. So the first thing you said that really struck me is you want to help people learn how to learn. So what does that mean for you?
How do we break things down? How do we understand all the components that go into it? What our experience is, and I think many of us grew up this way, we were taught to learn in chunks and chunks that build on each other in quite a linear fashion, except that's not actually how humans learn. We're born incredibly curious. Sometimes we squash that out of ourselves as we go along. And so we want to foster that curiosity again, not having a roadmap of what you need to know. Instead, fostering that curiosity and being able to figure it out for yourself, given a little bit of guidance and framework on how to break things down and then how to build them back into coherent understanding. So we're moving beyond simply being information gatherers. We're actually building knowledge and, more importantly, being able to apply that knowledge, which leads to wisdom. When we look at learning how to learn, it's being able to, even if you've never seen something before, you know how to figure it out. The point is to get started.
So that's where the critical thinking and those sort of tools come in. I'm really curious now to ask, so who are your learners then?
That's what's been fascinating. So right now we have a tech stream at InceptionU called EvolveU. And EvolveU was really put together in order to help people who had been displaced in the energy sector to reposition themselves towards the tech sector. We knew that there was a need for talent. How do we help equip people if they don't necessarily have 2, 3, 4 years to put into that? So we put that program out. It's a 6-month intensive program where they're learning software development. What was fascinating was who showed up. It wasn't a demographic. We were being asked, marketing wise, what's your demographic? We were looking for a certain kind of person. Are you curious? Are you open-minded? And are you a lifelong learner? If you're equipped with that, the technical competence, that's something that we can help impart. So our learners we've had as young as had just turned 20 years old through to 63 years old and everything in between. There is a big bulk that come to our program that tend to be, early 30s to early 50s kind of thing. And they are transitioning. Some of them are transitioning because they had to. Some of them are transitioning because they're wondering, is this really where I'm meant to be? They knew that they had this interest, particularly in the field of technology, and they were looking for a different kind of learning experience. Likely more conventional approaches hadn't worked for them in the past, and they were looking for this kind of hands-on, dig in and kind of choose your own adventure learning that we work to provide.
They don't, there's no sort of pre-qualification in terms of education. They don't need to have done an IT diploma or anything like that, right? You could have been like me and worked in kitchens.
Yeah. And we've had that's what's fascinating too, is learning people's stories. The diversity in our cohorts is fascinating because it's on so many different levels and in so many different frames. It's diversity of experience. We've had people who've had 20 years in the energy sector and they are pivoting. We have had someone who started in accounting, realized that's not where I want to go, became a barista, and now is a software developer. We've had people who had next to no kind of technical background. We do require that they have a base level of understanding of logic in order to get in. We're not looking for previous certifications. Then we also have a wide diversity, not only of ages, also different cultural backgrounds. We have quite a few people who are newer to Canada and their past experience isn't necessarily recognized. And this was a way to get some Canadian experience. The number of women we've had in our program has been quite high compared to some other programs, which has been interesting. And we're trying to understand what is it that is drawing people in.
Yeah, that is interesting because we were talking to a couple other people who do reskilling programs, and much like the tech industry itself, their numbers are about 80-20 male to female.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in our first two cohorts, we were over 35% female, which we're curious about. And we're looking and reducing the barriers to as many people as possible to step into this kind of learning.
Looking at your website, it's interesting to me because so often with these courses, they're very focused on achieving a specific competency in a coding language, things like that. And you guys do that. But the focus really does feel like it's on higher level learning, almost like a university program. Was that a conscious choice as you developed your curriculum, or is it something you guys happened into and found some success with it?
It was a very conscious choice. Yes, there are technical competencies. There are also non-technical ones about how you do what you do. That's part of differentiating yourself from someone else with the same technical capabilities. That diversity of perspectives, of viewpoints, only makes for building better things. So we did definitely do that in a very conscious way, and to have it as an integrated experience. It's not you learn this and then you learn that and they're all separate functions. This is all part of how we operate. And if we're going to build thriving organizations, thriving cities, thriving economies, then we need an educational learning experience to reflect how life actually works, which is not in these lovely separate little boxes. So that was a very conscious choice that we made.
Like some other reskilling programs, your registration comes through people who are currently on EI. It's government funded.
It's an integrated training program that is provided both support from the government of Alberta and the government of Canada. That provides a certain number of seats. If someone qualifies based on either unemployment or underemployment, then the government pays their tuition and they get to continue collecting their EI. So they still have some way of making a living while they retrain themselves. So we get 40 seats per cohort that are funded that way. And then people are also able to pay for it directly as well.
So how many people are in a cohort then?
Generally, we have between 40 and 50 in a cohort. Our very first cohort was in September 2018. And it was 11 people who took a chance on a program run by people they'd never heard of. And it worked. We were fortunate to have some support from the Hunter Family Foundation to help us get that pilot off the ground and test some things out. We started at C-Space, which is another fantastic building in Calgary. And then we moved into the library space, and we were able to grow the program significantly as a result of having that larger space. That all started after about 2 years of iteration and testing out both the technical and the non-technical, and then we weave them together.
I'll tell you one thing, you guys are winning the coolest environments to learn in for any school. C-Space, if for those who don't know, Calgary is a very cool multi-use space.
Yes. We've been very lucky in every space we've inhabited.
So then let's move on to a topic that's not as fun. You're in these very cool spaces. You're in the public library, which is brand new and central and beautiful. And in an instant, you had to move everything online. Had you thought about doing online teaching before? Were you mentally prepared to do this, or has this been a real roller coaster?
All it did was accelerate something we'd been talking about, right? Ideally, you don't have to come into a large city to be able to access development for yourself. So we'd been talking about it. It was something that, oh, we'll get it to it one day. And this meant flip the switch, do it now, because the world changed.
Yeah.
It also gave us a chance to do all sorts of research into what is feasible when you switch from in person to online. And it's not a direct translation. There's lots of different design and how people learn and the amount of time that they can sit and focus. We had to take all of that into account and restructure how we approached it.
Now that you've entered this brave new world of online learning, has it unlocked some ideas of ways to expand reach and make it more accessible?
Huge. If we look at higher level global discussions, there is quite a focus on health and education and what's needed. And so, again, it's simply accelerating some thoughts that we were having. What I'm finding as well is we knew that there were pockets of us around the world that were looking at learning differently and had talked about, we should have some kind of conference or something where we all get to know each other. We're reaching out to each other now and creating opportunities that any one of us couldn't do on our own. The need is greater than any one organization can meet. We're connecting with each other saying, well, you do this part, we do this part. What does it look like to design it brilliantly for virtual delivery?
Mm-hmm.
So that when we reconvene again, the acceleration of the learning and the connection and the meaning of being together in person is that much more because we've been learning and connecting in between in a really meaningful way. We've taken the foot off the brake on that, like we'll get to it, and we've put it on the gas.
Yeah.
And it's meaningful learning is not a passive experience.
Then that brings me back to the learning how to learn. I love that idea as an overarching goal because in some ways the subject matter doesn't matter.
No. It's that overarching framework. And I mean, can you imagine if, let's say, you get to post-secondary and all you did was spend your first 2 years learning how to learn, and then you picked where you wanted to go with that. And now you know how to get to an understanding of something. You're applying it in a specific technical field. I think I'm going to take this into engineering. I think I'm going to take this into the arts. You know how to learn anything.
Yeah. I did that by dropping out of university twice. So
yeah. I did it by changing my major so many times that they were like, well, you pick one? How do I pick one? It's all so interesting.
So taking this back to the soft skills you learn doing the things you do before you end up doing the things you love, do you find that with your learners that they have this untapped skill set that they just didn't know they had?
Yeah. So part of our program, we also do that strategic level career work so that they can clearly articulate, know for themselves, what is a good fit for me? And what are those skills that are transferable? Simply because you're transitioning from one career field to another doesn't mean all the stuff that you've done before is gone. It can be transferred, and we help them identify those key transferable skills that they're now going to apply in a different area. And how do they want to do that? And what's that overall fit for them so that they can be doing something that is rewarding and fulfilling? If they're fulfilled with what they're doing, ultimately the organizations they work for are going to get someone who delivers better things in their company. The career work is some of my favorite work to do with all of them. What I've found is where your real talents lie, it often comes so naturally to you, you don't think it's a big deal. Well, anybody can do this. Yeah, no, that doesn't come naturally to everybody. And it's so rewarding for us to see people have that realization that I could get paid to do that. Yeah.
What a nice realization that must be
Yeah.
for someone. If someone wanted to explore InceptionU and look at your programs and see if they could benefit from them, where would they find you?
They can find us at InceptionU.com. If they're looking particularly for the tech stream, they can find us at evolveu.ca, and they can reach out to us. We've got all sorts of social media going on, lots of ways to get in touch, and we're happy to engage with them.
Thank you very much for joining us. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks for having us.
ReSkilled is brought to you by Onlia, an e-learning production company located in the heart of Edmonton, Canada. This episode was produced by Beau Desonier, William Fritzberg, Mel Giel, Adriana Lopez Ferrero, and me, Jeff Woodward.